I never believed in folklore. Growing up in Manila, my life was filled with the hum of city traffic, modern conveniences, and the belief that ghosts and monsters were just stories made up to scare children. But all of that changed one summer when I visited my grandmother's province in Negros. She lived in a small, rural town surrounded by vast fields and thick forests. The kind of place where the night was pitch black and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and distant howls of stray dogs. I had been there before, but this particular summer was different. It was the summer I saw something I still struggle to explain. It started with whispers. "Lock your windows," my grandmother warned, her voice barely above a whisper. "The tick-tick has been heard nearby." I scoffed. "Lola, that's just a myth. There's no such thing as a Manananggal." Her wrinkled hand gripped mine tightly, her dark eyes full of warning. "You don't believe now, Hijo, but you will." I should have listened. That night, the air was unusually thick. It was hard to breathe, as if the very atmosphere had changed. The dogs in the neighborhood were restless, barking and howling at seemingly nothing. Even the crickets, which usually filled the night with their chorus, had gone silent. At around 2:30 a.m., I lay in bed, struggling to fall asleep. The room was hot despite the window being open. I regretted my decision to sleep without a fan. Then I smelled it. A strong, pungent scent like fish sauce mixed with something rotten. My stomach churned. I sat up, scanning the room. The smell was coming from outside. Then I heard it. Tick, tick, tick. At first I thought it was just an animal, maybe a bird or a bat. But as the sound grew louder, a deep primal fear settled into my bones. My grandmother's words echoed in my mind. When the tick-tick sounds far, it means she is near. I slowly got out of bed and crept to the window. My hands were shaking as I peeked outside. What I saw still haunts me to this day. A figure hovered in the air, its form illuminated by the dim moonlight. It was a woman, or at least the upper half of one. Her lower body was missing. In its place, long, bat-like wings flapped silently. Her face was grotesque, elongated, with hollowed cheeks and piercing red eyes. Her mouth twisted into a grin, revealing sharp, blood-stained teeth. I couldn't move. My body refused to obey. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Her long tongue, far too long for a human, slithered from her mouth, tasting the air. My heart pounded so violently I was afraid she would hear it. Then, as if sensing my presence, her head snapped in my direction. I saw hunger in her eyes. The spell broke. I stumbled backward, falling onto the floor. Panic surged through me. I scrambled to my feet and ran to my grandmother's room, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "Lola! Lola, she's here!" Without hesitation, my grandmother shot up from bed. She grabbed a small jar from her nightstand, dipped her fingers into it, and smeared the contents on the door and window frames. The strong scent of garlic and vinegar filled the room. Then she began to pray. The tick-tick sound grew fainter and fainter until it disappeared entirely. Only then did my grandmother let out a sigh of relief. "She won't enter now," she said. "Not with the protection." I barely slept that night. Every creak, every rustle of the wind made me flinch. The next morning, I convinced myself it had been a hallucination. Sleep deprivation, an overactive imagination, a trick of the moonlight, anything but the truth. But then I heard the neighbors talking. A pregnant woman from the next village had been found unconscious in her home. Her stomach bore strange, deep scratches, as if something had tried to claw its way inside. The villagers whispered that the Manananggal had come for her but failed to finish the job. I asked my grandmother about it, hoping she'd dismiss it as a rumor, but she only nodded solemnly. She was lucky, she said. Not all are. I never mocked folklore again. I don't expect anyone to believe me. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. But if you ever find yourself in the provinces, alone at night, and you hear the faint sound of tick, tick, tick in the distance, don't look out the window. You might not like what you see. I was born and raised in the Philippines, where stories of monsters and spirits are passed down like family heirlooms. My grandparents often spoke about creatures that lurked in the night, and among them, one stood out, the Manananggal. The Manananggal is no ordinary monster. She is a woman by day, blending in with society, but by night, she transforms into something grotesque. With the help of a special oil, often made from enchanted herbs, she massages her body, allowing herself to split in half. Her torso sprouts massive bat-like wings, leaving her lower half behind as she takes to the sky in search of pregnant women and unborn children to feed upon. The stories vary by region, but in my village, the elders whispered of her distinct smell, the pungent stench of fish sauce, announcing her presence. Then there was the eerie sound, tick, 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 a deceptive warning. If it sounded distant, she was near. If it sounded close, she was far away. I was 7 years old. That night, for no reason at all, sleep evaded me. Everyone in the house was already deep in slumber, but I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Something felt off, though I couldn't put my finger on it. Then I heard it. Tick, tick, tick. My body went cold. My breath hitched. Every hair on my body stood on end. My grandfather's stories flooded my mind. I wanted to believe it was just my imagination, but the sound came again. Tick, tick, tick. I bolted upright in bed, eyes wide, scanning the room. The darkness seemed thicker than usual, suffocating even. My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid it would alert whatever was outside. I did what any terrified child would do. I threw my blanket over myself, as if it were a magical shield that could protect me. I shut my eyes tight, trying to block out the noise, willing my ears to stop hearing. The teaking sound faded. Relief washed over me. Then I remembered. When the tick-tick sounds far, it means the Manananggal is near. I lowered my blanket, hesitantly turning my head toward my window. And there she was. Her grotesque face, grinning ear to ear, stared back at me. Her bloodshot eyes locked onto mine. Her long tongue, wet and snake-like, flicked against the glass. I couldn't scream. My throat closed up. My body refused to move. Then she opened her mouth, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. That was when I found my voice. I let out a scream so loud it shook the house. My feet finally obeyed, and I ran straight to my mother's room, diving into her arms. I was crying, shaking, unable to form words. I must have passed out from fear because the next thing I knew, it was morning. At breakfast, I hesitantly told my mother about what happened. She chuckled, brushing it off as an overactive imagination. "How cute," she said. "You were probably dreaming." But then, my pregnant yaya, maid, froze mid-step. Her eyes went wide. She stared at me, then whispered, "You saw her too?" My blood ran cold. I felt tears well up again, but this time, it wasn't just from fear. It was from knowing. It wasn't just a dream. Legends say the first Manananggal was a woman cursed by a jealous witch. She was tricked into drinking a potion, unaware it would turn her into a monster for eternity. Unlike an Aswang, who is born into their nature, a Manananggal can pass on her curse by feeding a willing or unwilling participant a piece of her heart. In some provinces, villagers take extreme precautions. They sprinkle salt or ash on the lower half of the Manananggal's body while she is out hunting. Without it, she cannot reattach herself and dies at sunrise. Others place garlic or sharp bamboo spikes on their roofs, believing it keeps her away. Despite these precautions, sightings continue. I later found out that my yaya had encountered the creature before. She recounted a chilling experience from her younger years when a pregnant friend of hers was tormented by an unknown presence. Every night, the smell of fish sauce would fill her home, and the tick-tick sound would circle above her roof. Her grandmother, suspecting a Manananggal, scattered salt at the doorways and placed mirrors facing the windows. One night, the noises stopped abruptly. The next morning, a woman from the neighboring village was found dead in the forest. Her body was split in half. Even now, I struggle to believe what I saw. My logical mind tells me it was childhood paranoia. But that moment, her face at my window, my yaya's reaction, burned into my memory. Some say the Manananggal is merely a tale to scare children into behaving. Others claim she is very real, preying on the vulnerable when the moon is high. Believe what you will. Just remember, if you ever hear a faint tick, tick, tick outside your window at night, don't look.